Yes, so I wanted us to start off with errors. And I believe errors, this is something that most of you know. In one way or the other, you've ever encountered what we call an error. For example, they can say, you know, some people always say that there are miracles or something's happening so many times. You can find when someone is recording maybe your marks in math, you got 81, and instead of writing 81, someone writes it as this is the actual marks, but because maybe someone is rushing or any or the other, someone writes 18. So this is the actual, but instead of writing the actual, someone writes what? 18. So this one that is not correct, or the one that's not the very right one, is always what we call the approximated value. So when I ask you for the error, someone can say, you know, there is an error in my marks, what and what. So what you call an error is when there is a deflection between the actual and then the approximated. So instead of writing 81, someone writes 18. So what do we call an error? An error is the difference between the actual and the approximated. So if you get the actual answer that you're supposed to get, and then you subtract the approximated, approximated, you're going to get what you call error. So the actual was 81 and the approximated is 18. So the error that would have occurred is 81 minus 18. And this is, I think, around 62. Is it 62? Or 63? It's 63. So this is the error encountered. So we have different types of errors, and so roughly an error is the deflection from the actual. That deflection. So we have different types of errors, and we can have what we call random errors. So random errors, these are errors that that don't occur numerically. So these ones, they don't occur numerically. Like, you don't get this error maybe after a wrong calculation on a calculator, but you get it because maybe it is a machine error, maybe it's a typing error, maybe you just interchanged. So that's what we call a random error. For example, instead of writing 81, you write 18. This one is, you get an error. Then secondly, there is what we call round off. We call them rounding off errors. And what are rounding off errors? These are errors that we get because of rounding off. Yeah, I know one day you have ever tried to round off. So some numbers, when you put them on a calculator, you get very big values. For example, and someone can say, of course, square root of maybe pi. Let us say pi. Pi, we know you put pi on a calculator, you're going to get 3.14, something 14, something like that. So it would have been a very big number if you choose to write it. But sometimes you always tend to choke and you take only 3.14, meaning that you have left all the other ones. So you have rounded off maybe to only 2 decimal places. So all these values that you leave out, they cause what you call an error. And these errors, we call them rounding off errors. Why do you call them rounding off errors? You call them rounding off errors because you get them after rounding off. So that error occurred after rounding off. We call it a round off error. Then there is another type of error that we call truncating. We call them truncating errors. So truncating, for it, is the type of error that we get by truncating. Truncating is to choke. Yeah. So we call them truncating errors. What is to truncate? Truncate is when you're given a number, for example, 3.41667. No, 6. So when I say truncate to 3 decimal places, truncate means chop to 3 decimal places. You can count 1, 2, 3. So these are the first 3 decimal places. So you don't mind about what's next. Yes, I see after counting my 3 DPs, the next number is 6. If it was rounding off, would have carried 1 here. And then this one would have been 3.417. This is for rounding off. But for truncating, what you do, you just count 1, 2, 3. You chop. You don't mind about. So this result is 3 DPs, but after rounding off. But when I say truncate, you just count 1, 2, 3. You chop. You don't mind about what's coming next, whether above 5 or below 5. So the value for truncating is 3.416. So because you've left all the other, you cause what you call an error. So those are the different types of errors. Random errors. We had random. We had round of errors, and then the truncating errors.